For me not to get myself into a pit of mistake, I think I want to queue behind the already established protocol. I haven't believed that a lot of protocol have been established by other earlier speakers. And so I'm queuing behind the protocol already established. So permit me to recognize every other protocol. Today I'm going to speak in three areas. First, I want to convey the sentiments of His Excellency, the Governor of Bayelsa State, Senator Diarrhea, who is unavoidably absent. As you are very much aware, a man whose house is on fire will want to give a priority to see how he can quench that. Clearly, as you are aware, we're having some issues and we are trying to solve them as a state and as a party. So the governor is unavoidably absent and has asked me to convey his sentiment of apologies to the Honorable Minister and all of us who have come here to Bayelsa today and the tower of the local content for the first time. He also asked me to convey his sentiment of gratitude to the local content administration for what happened yesterday. For the first time yesterday, we were able to sign a power purchase agreement with the local content, trying to show how we can improve power to people and also to ensure that the machinery of government run effectively. As we are well aware, the first commandment of God was let there be light. And so when there is no light, there can't be development. And so having light yesterday to power our critical infrastructure is a sign that we are beginning to obey the commandment of God. And so we want to convey our appreciations of that collaboration, which is a clear collaboration of the rice and the rice, not a collaboration of the rice, the pot, and the fire. A collaboration between the fire and the pot ends up leaving one dark and one leaving exhausted. The fire will get exhausted at the end of the day by burning the pot, and the pot will get black at the end of the day after being cooked. But the collaboration between the rice and the rice leave everybody white and the pot full. And so clearly, it's a collaboration that has made the pot to be full. And so we want to also appreciate the Content Board for the various infrastructure and projects that they've cited in the state, ranging from the gas turbine to the gas cylinder manufacturing, and then the shipyard industry that will be at brass. However, we also want to just remind the Secretary that it would be good to balance the equation of the body. The fact that somebody does not have an ear doesn't mean that he cannot move, but it's going to affect his stability and his balance. So we ask the Executive Secretary to look westward as he tried to put some of these projects on the ground. Westward, I believe you understand what I mean when I say you should look westward of the state. The state is made up of the east, central, and west. And as you know, as a man who mounts this rostrum from the government angle, we speak from two ends. While we comment, we also demand. And so that is just what I'm doing. So I'm playing my role as a government, demanding and commending. Having said that, I want to come to do a little bit of landfall, not the either landfall, but a kind of landfall on what has brought us here together today. Because it's what brings people to the church that they pray over as a congregation, while everybody says personal prayers. So for the congregation today, the prayer is R&D. The role of R&D can never be emphasized. Clearly, a problem cannot be solved by the same level of thinking that created it. As for you to solve the problem, the thinking must be above the thinking that created the problem. And that is the objective of R&D. And so over the years, it appears that especially for us in our country, and especially for us in our industry, we have always thought within the level that created the problem. So we are happy today that we are taking the first bold and concerted step towards ensuring that we improve on our local content in terms of what we can do for ourselves. The clock says integrity is better when you do it within yourself, and that is why he keeps to his own time. And so I am happy, or we are happy, that today the government, the federal government, and the industry players have come together to keep integrity so that we time ourselves and make sure we are doing the right thing. Where we are today is good, but where we are going to be tomorrow with research and development will be better. And what will be next tomorrow will be the best. And so a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a positive thinking that leads you in the right direction. It's not every journey that leads you in the right direction. Some journey can actually be started and takes you to a wrong destination. And so we are happy today, and as a government, we will be willing to make our contributions, not necessarily financial, but the creation of the conducive environment, because it's what you use and available that you use to welcome a king when he visits you. And so we're making and creating the enabling environment for striving of this R&D initiative, which is key to us. The only thing I want to mention here in relation to the R&D is that we should be more localized than we have been. More often than not, the adaptation of existing technology may not suit our environment. Every opportunity creates a momentum, and how we latch on that momentum makes us to move faster than we could have been. The Civil War, people see it from a negative position. But for those of us who are in the management circle, who see conflict as positive, we see the Civil War as an opportunity that was created, and the momentum was also available, which we didn't latch on. If we had continuously, persistently looked at the Ogbunigwe, which was manufactured during the Civil War, will it have helped us in our defense? And so I believe, or we believe, that we should continue to localize efforts, and local efforts should be encouraged and not discouraged. Because the best way to encourage a child who wants to learn how to walk is to stretch a hand of encouragement. So we believe that while we are talking about R&D, the local capacity to do that should not be ignored or overlooked. It's going to go a long way to save us a lot of foreign flights, capital flights that will have incurred as a result of really looking outwards to look at what will be best for our industry. I believe that is a sentiment that we want to convey, and I believe it should sit well with those, especially the council members who are going to lead this. Goods, the funds have been well articulated and shared already, and so there's nothing anybody can do as to the appropriation of the fund, as already stated by the Executive Secretary, in terms of the allocation of the percentage of 15, 50, 30, and then 5% respectively. That is quite comfortable. But I believe that as we go on, the best way to get yourself good is to do what we call serious and regular critical self-evaluation. If we find it that the appropriation currently does not sit well with what we want to do, I believe there will be nothing wrong if we make some changes. After all, change is the only thing that is constant in our society. I want to conclude by conveying our last sentiment, which will be a sentiment of consistency. The Bayelsa State Government and the Niger Delta region still feel not very satisfied with what we are seeing in the Nigerian oil industry. The Bayelsa State Government still feel very, very shortchanged in terms of what we are getting, despite the efforts we have made to ensure that there is peace and tranquility in the industry. A man who needs blood transfusion cannot take oil, palm, as a ready-made or as an alternative because blood is scarce. You will really need the blood to survive. And so this idea of trying to attempt to transfuse palm oil in the place of blood is not only suicidal, it's going to be detrimental. And so on this area, I will digress in 3 areas. Thank God most of you are here in Bayelsa here today. If a child is crying for buns, if you try to appease them with cake, no matter how beautiful the cake is, they will still continue to cry. And so we believe that appeasing us with the buns, which is what we are crying for, will make a lot of good and a lot of sleepfulness to everybody. We believe that the relocation of the IOC to Bayelsa State should not be further delayed. This is a pronouncement of the Vice President about 3-4 years ago. We believe that the manifestation of this is necessary at this stage, especially now that everybody is beginning to think inward with what our brother is doing with VAT. We think it will be unfair for the IOCs to come to Bayelsa to do all their job, yet the payee income tax is collected in Lagos. That is asking somebody to eat beans and others to have the diarrhea, which I think is not fair. And so we will appeal. The local content is here. You can see the Marine building. You can see the men that are working here. Nothing untoward had happened to them. And so we believe that that sentiment should not longer stand, because the argument that is erected that wall appear to have crumbled to the peaceful environment we have created here, and even the fast means of transportation we have created with our airports operating. I believe those of you who came in here had to fly through our airport. And so we won't see any reason why they will not want to come here. Insecurity is everywhere in the world. There's no country or place without insecurity. The problem is the proportionate of that insecurity. I have gone to Lagos. If I pull my cap and I bring down I face you with my back, you see a scar on my head. It was not with me. My mother did not born me with it. I got it when I traveled to Lagos. So if I can get that in Lagos, and people say Lagos is safer, I don't think Lagos is safer. So I think it's good we relocate the industries. The next sentiment I want to exhibit here again is the sentiment of what we have got from the PIA. No doubt it's quite beautiful, but to whom much is given, much is expected. We believe that it is better to take the philosophy of the snail, who says it's better to obey and complain than not to resist obedience. And so that is why when you pick the snail up, it doesn't struggle with you. But what it does is that when you put it inside your bag or in your house, it will continue to hiss. So we'll continue to hiss while the local content and issues of the 3% are being addressed. And so we are quite satisfied with the 3%, but we believe that an amendment will not be a wrong thing to think of. So we expect that as we progress with the implementation of the PIA, steps should be taken to do some amendments so that the snail one day will stop hissing in our bags. It's on that note, I want to thank all of you for coming on behalf of His Excellency, the Governor of our state, and to tell you that Bayelsa is open for business. The best wife to marry is a virgin. Bayelsa is a virgin. Marry us, and God bless you.